for the backs of fools. Do not answer a fool according to his folly, or you yourself will be just like him. Answer a fool according to his folly, or he will be wise in his own eyes. Sending a message by the hands of a fool is like cutting off one's feet or drinking poison. Like the useless legs of one who is lame is a proverb in the mouth of a fool. Like tying a stone in a sling is the giving of honor to a fool. Like a thorn brush in a drunkard's hand is a proverb in the mouth of a fool. Like an archer who wounds at random is one who hires a fool or any passerby. As a dog returns to its vomit, so fools repeat their folly. Do you see a person wise in their own eyes? There is more hope for a fool than for them. A sluggard says, "There's a lion in the road, a fierce lion roaming the streets." As a door turns on its hinges, so a sluggard turns on his bed. A sluggard buries his hand in the dish. He is too lazy to bring it back to his mouth. A sluggard is wiser in his own eyes than 7 people who answer discreetly. Like one who grabs a stray dog by the ears is someone who rushes into a quarrel not their own. Like a maniac shooting flaming arrows of death is one who deceives their neighbor and says, "I was only joking." Without a wood, a fire goes out. Without a gossip, a quarrel dies down. As charcoal to embers and as wood to fire, so is a quarrelsome person for kindling strife. The words of a gossip are like choice morsels. They go down to the innermost parts. Like a coating of silver dross on earthenware are fervent lips with an evil heart. Enemies disguise themselves with their lips, but in their heart they harbor deceit. Though their speech is charming, do not believe them, for 7 abominations fill their hearts. Their malice may be concealed by deception, but their wickedness will be exposed in the assembly. Whoever digs a pit will fall into it. If someone rolls a stone, it will roll back on them. A lying tongue hates those it hurts, and a flattering mouth works ruin.
Do not boast about tomorrow, for you do not know what a day may bring. Let someone else praise you and not your own mouth, an outsider and not your own lips. Stone is heavy and sand is a burden. But a fool's provocation is heavier than both. Anger is cruel and fury, overwhelming, but who can stand before jealousy? Better is open rebuke than hidden love. Wounds from a friend can be trusted, but an enemy multiplies kisses. One who is full loathes honey from the comb, but to the hungry, even what is bitter tastes sweet. Like a bird that flees its nest is anyone who flees from home. Perfume and incense bring joy to the heart, and pleasantness of a friend springs from their heartfelt advice. Do not forsake your friend or a friend of your family, and do not go to your own relative's home or house when disaster strikes you. Better a neighbor nearby than a relative far away. Be wise, my son, and bring joy to my heart. Then I can answer anyone who treats me with contempt. The prudent see danger and take refuge, but the simple keep going and pay the penalty. Take the garment of one who puts up security for a stranger. Hold it in a pledge if it's done for the outsider. If anyone loudly blesses their neighbor early in the morning, it will be taken as a curse. A quarrelsome wife is like the dipping of a leaky roof in a rainstorm. Retaining her is like restraining the wind or grasping oil with the hand. As iron sharpens iron, so a person sharpens another. The one who guards a fig tree will eat its fruit, and whoever protects their master will be honored. As water reflects the face, so one's life reflects the heart. Death and destruction are never satisfied, and neither are human eyes. A crucible for silver and furnace for gold, but people are tested by their praise. Though you grind a fool in mortar, grinding them like grain with a pestle, you will not remove their folly from them. Be sure you know the condition of your flocks. Give careful attention to your herds, for riches do not endure forever, and a crown is not secure for all generations. When the hay is removed, new growth appears, and the grass from the hills is gathered in. The lambs will provide you with clothing, and the goats with the price of the field. You will have plenty of goats' milk to feed your family and to nourish your female servants.
Proverbs chapter 28. The wicked flee though no one pursues, but the righteous are as bold as a lion. When a country is rebellious, it has many rulers, but a ruler with discernment and knowledge maintains order. A ruler who oppresses the poor is like driving rain that leaves no crops. Those who forsake instruction praise the wicked, but those who heed it resist them. Evildoers do not understand what is right, but those who seek the Lord understand it fully. Better the poor whose walk is blameless than the rich whose ways are perverse. A discerning son heeds instruction, but a companion of gluttons disgraces his father. Whoever increases wealth by taking interest or profit from the poor amasses it for another who will be kind to the poor. If anyone turns a deaf ear to my instruction, even their prayers are detestable. Whoever leads the upright along an evil path will fall into their own trap, but the blameless will receive a good inheritance. The rich are wise in their own eyes. One who is poor and discerning sees how deluded they are. When the righteous triumph, there is great elation, but when the wicked rise to power, people go into hiding. Whoever conceals their sin does not prosper, but the one who confesses and renounces them finds mercy. Blessed is the one who always trembles before God, but whoever hardens their heart falls into trouble. Like a roaring lion or a charging bear is a wicked ruler over a helpless people. A tyrannical ruler practices extortion, but one who hates ill-gotten gain will enjoy a long reign. Anyone tormented by the guilt of murder will seek refuge in the grave. Let no one hold them back. The one whose walk is blameless is kept safe, but the one whose ways are perverse will fall into the pit. Those who work their land will have abundant food, but those who chase fantasies will have their fill of poverty. A faithful person will be richly blessed, but one eager to get rich will not go unpunished. To show partiality is not good, yet a person will do wrong for a piece of bread. The stingy are eager to get rich and are unaware that poverty awaits them. Whoever rebukes a person will in the end gain favor rather than the one who has flattering tongue. Whoever robs their father or mother and says it's not wrong is partner to one who destroys. The greedy stir up conflict, but those who trust in the Lord will prosper. Those who trust in themselves are fools, but those who walk in wisdom are kept safe. Those who give to the poor will lack nothing, but those who close their eyes to them receive many curses. When the wicked rise to power, people go into hiding, but when the wicked perish, the righteous thrive.
Whoever remains stiff-necked after many rebukes will suddenly be destroyed without remedy. When the righteous thrive, the people rejoice. When the wicked rule, the people groan. A man who loves wisdom brings joy to his father, but a companion of prostitutes squanders his wealth. By justice, a king gives a country stability, but those who are greedy for bribes tear it down. Those who flatter their neighbors are spreading nets for their feet. Evildoers are snared by their own sin, but the righteous shout out for joy and are glad. The righteous care about justice for the poor, but the wicked have no such concern. Mockers stir up a city, but the wise turn away from anger. If a wise person goes to court with a fool rages and scoffs, and there is no peace. The bloodthirsty hate a person of integrity and seek to kill the upright. Fools give full vent to their rage, but the wise bring calm in the end. If a ruler listens to lies, all of his officials become wicked. A poor and the oppressor have this in common. The Lord gives sight to the eyes of both. If a king judges the poor with fairness, his throne will be established forever. A rod and a reprimand impart wisdom, but a child left undisciplined disgraces his mother. When the wicked thrive, so does sin, but the righteous will see their downfall. Discipline your children, and they will give you peace. They will bring you the delights you desire. Where there is no revelation, people cast off restraint, but blessed is the one who heeds wisdom's instruction. Servants cannot be corrected by mere words. Though they understand, they will not respond. Do you see someone who speaks in haste? There is more hope for a fool than for them. A servant pampered from youth will turn out to be insolent. Any angry person stirs up conflict, and a hot-tempered person commits many sins. Pride brings a person low, but the lowly in spirit gain honor. The accomplices of thieves are their own enemies. They are put under oath and dare not testify. Fear of a man will prove to be a snare, but whoever trusts in the Lord is kept safe. Many seek an audience with a ruler, but it is from the Lord that one gets justice. The righteous detest the dishonest, but the wicked detest the upright.
Proverbs 30, sayings of Agur. The sayings of Agur, son of Jacob, an inspired utterance. This man's utterance to Ethiel. I am weary, God, but I can prevail. Surely I am only a brute, not a man. I do not have human understanding. I have not learned wisdom, nor have I attained to the knowledge of the Holy One. Who has gone up to heaven and come down? Whose hands have gathered up the wind? Who has wrapped up the waters in a cloak? Who has established all the ends of the earth? What is his name? And what is the name of his son? Surely you know. Every word of God is flawless. He is a shield to those who take refuge in him. Do not add to his words, or he will rebuke you and prove you a liar. 2 things I ask of you, Lord. Do not refuse me before I die. Keep falsehood and lies far from me. Give me neither poverty nor riches. Give me only my daily bread. Otherwise, I may have too much and disown you and say, who is the Lord? Or I may become poor and steal, and so dishonor the name of God. Do not slander a servant to their master, or they will curse you and you will pay for it. There are those who curse their fathers and do not bless their mothers, those who are pure in their own eyes and yet are not cleansed of their filth. Those whose eyes are ever so haughty, whose glances are so disdainful, those whose teeth are swords, and whose jaws are set with knives, to devour the poor from the earth and the needy from among mankind. The leech has 2 daughters. Give, give, they cry. There are 3 things that are never satisfied, 4 that never say enough. The grave, the barren womb, land, which is never satisfied with water, and fire, which never says enough. The eye that mocks a father, that scorns an aged mother, will be pecked out by the ravens of the valley, will be eaten by the vultures. There are 3 things that are too amazing for me, 4 that I do not understand. The way of an eagle in the sky, the way of a snake on a rock, the way of a ship on the high seas, and the way of a young man with a young woman. This is the way of an adulterous woman. She eats and wipes her mouth and says, I've done nothing wrong. Under 3 kings on the earth trembles. Under 4 it cannot bear up. A servant who becomes king, a godless fool who gets plenty to eat, a contemptible woman who gets married, and a servant who displaces her mistress. 4 things on earth are small, yet they are extremely wise. Ants are creatures of little strength, yet they store up their food in the summer. Hyraxes are creatures of little power, yet they make their home in the crags. Locusts have no king, yet they advance together in ranks. A lizard can be caught with the hand, yet it is found in kings' palaces. There are 3 things that are stately in their stride, 4 that move with stately bearing: a lion, mighty among beasts, who retreats before nothing, a strutting rooster as he-goat, and a king secure against revolt. If you play the fool and exalt yourself, or if you plan evil, clap your hand over your mouth. For as churning cream produces butter, and as twisting the nose produces blood, so stirring up anger produces strife.
Chapter 31, the sayings of King Lemuel. The sayings of King Lemuel, an inspired utterance his mother taught him. Listen, my son. Listen, son of my womb. Listen, my son, the answer to my prayers. Do not spend your strength on women, your vigor on those who ruin kings. It is not for kings, Emmanuel. It is not for kings to drink wine, not for rulers to crave beer, lest they drink and forget what they have decreed, and deprive all the oppressed of all their rights. Let beer be for those who are perishing, wine for those who are in anguish. Let them drink and forget their poverty and remember their misery no more. Speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves, for the rights of all who are destitute. Speak up and judge fairly. Defend the rights of the poor and needy. How do you pronounce that?
Epilogue.
Epilogue, the wife of noble character. A wife of noble character who can find. She is worth far more than rubies. Her husband has full confidence in her and lacks nothing of value. She brings him good, not harm, all the days of her life. She selects wool and flax and works with eager hands. She is like the merchant ship bringing her food from afar. She gets up while it is still night and provides food for her family and proportions for her female servants. She considers a field and buys it. Out of her earnings, she plants a vineyard. She sets about her work vigorously. Her arms are strong for her task. She sees that her trading is profitable, and her lamp does not go out at night. In her hand, she holds the distaff and grasps the spindle with her fingers. She opens her arms to the poor and extends her hands to the needy. When it snows, she has no fear for her household, for all of them are clothed in scarlet. She makes coverings for her bed. She's clothed in fine linen and purple. Her husband is respected in the city gate, where he takes his seat among the elders of the land. She makes linen garments and sells them and supplies merchants with sashes. She is clothed with strength and dignity, and she can laugh at the days to come. She speaks with wisdom, and faithful instruction is on her tongue. She watches over the affairs of her household and does not eat the bread of idleness. Her children arise and call her blessed, her husband also, and she praises her. Many women do noble things, but you surpass them all. Charm and deceptive and beauty is fleeting, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. Honor her for all that her hands have done, and let her work bring her praise at the city gate.
Ecclesiastes Chapter 1. Everything is meaningless. The words of the teacher, son of David, king in Jerusalem. Meaninglessness, meaningless, says the teacher. Utterly meaningless. Everything is meaningless. What do people gain from all their labors at which they toil under the sun? Generations come and generations go, but the earth remains forever. The sun rises and the sun sets and hurries back to where it rises. The wind blows to the south and turns to the north. Round and round it goes, ever returning on its course. All streams flow into the sea, yet the sea is never full. To the place the streams come from, there they return again. All things are wearisome, more than one can say. The eye never has enough of seeing, nor the ear its fill of hearing. What has been will be again. What has been done will be done again. There is nothing new under the sun. Is there anything of which one can say, look, this is something new? It was here already, long ago. It was here before our time. No one remembers the former generations, and even those yet to come, and will not be remembered by those who follow them. Wisdom is meaningless. I, the teacher, was king over Israel in Jerusalem. I applied my mind to study and to explore by wisdom all that is done under the heavens. What a heavy burden God has laid on mankind. I have seen all the things that are done under the sun. All of them are meaningless, a chasing after the wind. What is crooked cannot be straightened. What is lacking cannot be counted. I said to myself, look, I have increased in wisdom more than anyone who has ruled over Jerusalem before me. I have experienced much of wisdom and knowledge. Then I applied myself to the understanding of wisdom and also of madness and folly. But I learned that this, too, is a chasing after the wind. For with much wisdom comes much sorrow. The more the knowledge, the more the grief.
Chapter 2. Pleasures are meaningless. I said to myself, come now, I will test you with pleasure to find out what is good. But that also proved to be meaningless. Laughter, I said, is madness, and what does pleasure accomplish? I tried cheering myself with wine and embracing folly, my mind still guiding me with wisdom. I wanted to see what was good for people to do under the heavens during the few days of their lives. I undertook great projects. I built houses for myself and planted vineyards. I made gardens and parks and planted all kinds of fruit trees in them. I made reservoirs to water groves of flourishing trees. I brought male and female slaves and had other slaves who were born in my house. I also owned more herds of flocks than anyone in Jerusalem before me. I amassed silver and gold for myself and the treasure of kings and provinces. I acquired male and female singers and a harem, as well the delights of the man's heart. I became greater by far than anyone in Jerusalem before me. In all this, my wisdom stayed with me. I denied myself nothing my eyes desired. I refused my heart no pleasure. My heart took delight in all my labor, and this was reward for all my toil. Yet when I surveyed all that my hands had done, and what I had toiled to achieve, everything was meaningless, a chastening after the wind. Nothing was gained under the sun. Wisdom and folly are meaningless. Then I turned my thoughts to consider wisdom, and also madness and folly. What more can the king's successor do than what has already been done? I saw that wisdom is better than folly, just as light is better than darkness. The wise have eyes in their heads, while the fools walk in darkness. But I came to realize that the same fate overtakes them both. Then I said to myself, the fate of a fool will overtake me also. What then do I gain by being wise? I said to myself. This too is meaningless, for the wise, like the fool, will not be long remembered. The days have already come with both have been forgotten. Like the fool, wise too much die. Toil is meaningless, so I hated life because the work that is done under the sun was grievous to me. All of it is meaningless, a chasing after the wind. I hated all things I had toiled for under the sun because I must leave them to the one who comes after me. And who knows whether that person will be wise or foolish, yet they will have control over all the fruit of my toil into which I have poured my effort and skill under the sun. This too is meaningless, for my heart began to despair over all my toilsome labor under the sun. For a person may labor with wisdom, knowledge, and skill, and then they must leave all they own to another who has not toiled for it. This too is meaningless and the great misfortune. What do people get for all the toil and anxious striving which they have labored under the sun? All these days they work is grief and pain. Even at night their minds do not rest. This too is meaningless. A person can do nothing better than to eat and drink and find satisfaction in their own toil. This too I see as from the hand of God, for without him, who can eat or find enjoyment? To the person who pleases him, God gives wisdom, knowledge, and happiness. But to the sinner who gives the task of gathering and storing up wealth to hand it over to the one who pleases God, this too is meaningless, a chasing after the wind.
Ecclesiastes chapter 3, a time for everything. There is a time for everything, and a season for every activity under heaven. A time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to tear down and a time to build, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to scatter stones and a time to gather them, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to search and a time to give up, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to mend, a time to be silent and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace. What do workers gain from their toil? I have seen the burden God has laid on the human race. He has made everything beautiful in its time. He has also set eternity in the human heart. Yet no one can fathom what God has done from beginning to end. I know that there is nothing better for people than to be happy and to do good while they live, that each of them may eat and drink and find satisfaction in all their toil. This is the gift of God. I know that everything God does will endure forever. Nothing can be added to it, and nothing can be taken from it. God does it so that people will fear him. Whatever is has already been, and what will be has been before, and God will call the past to account. And I saw something else under the sun. In the place of judgment, wickedness was there. In the place of justice, wickedness was there. I said to myself, God will bring into judgment both the righteous and the wicked, for there will be a time for every activity, a time to judge every deed. I also said to myself, as for humans, God tests them so that they may see that they are like that animals. Surely the fate of human beings is like that of the animals. The same fate awaits them both. As one dies, so dies the other. All have the same breath. Humans have no advantage over animals. Everything is meaningless. All go to the same place. All come from dust, and to dust all return. Who knows if the human spirit rises upward, and if the spirit of the animal goes down into the earth? So I saw that there is nothing better for a person than to enjoy their work, because that is their lot. For who can bring them to see what will happen after them?
Chapter 4. Again I looked and saw all oppression that was taking place under the sun. I saw the tears of the oppressed, and they have no comforter. Power was on the side of their oppressors, and they have no comforter. And I declared that the dead, who had already died, are happier than the living who are still alive. But better than both is the one who has never been born, who has not seen the evil that is done under the sun. And I saw that all toil and all achievements springs from one person's envy of another. This too is meaningless, a chasing after the wind. Fools hold their hands and ruin themselves. Better one handful with tranquility than two handfuls with toil and chasing after the wind. Again I saw something meaningless under the sun. There was a man all alone. He had neither son nor brother. There was no end to his toil, yet his eyes were not content with his wealth. For whom am I toiling, he asked, and why am I depriving myself of enjoyment? This too is meaningless, a miserable business. Two are better than one because they have a good return for their labor. If neither of them falls down, one can help the other up. But pity anyone who falls, has no one to help them up. Also, if two lie down together, they will keep warm. But how can one keep warm alone? Though one may be overpowered, two can defend themselves. A cord of three strands is not quickly broken. Achievement is meaningless.
Advancement.
Just a minute. Advancement is meaningless. Better a poor but wise youth than an old but foolish king who no longer knows how to heed a warning. The youth may have come up from prison to the kingship, or he may have been born in poverty within his kingdom. I saw that all who lived and walked under the sun followed the youth, the king's successor. There was no end to all the people who were before them. But those who came later were not pleased with the successors. This too is meaningless, a chasing after the wind.
Ecclesiastes chapter 5. Fulfill your vow to God. Guard your steps when you go to the house of God. Go near to listen rather than to offer the sacrifice of fools who do not know what they do wrong. Do not be quick with your mouth. Do not be hasty in your heart to utter anything before God. God is in heaven and you are on earth, so let your words be few. A dream comes when there are many cares, and many words mark the speech of a fool. When you make a vow to God, do not delay to fulfill it. He has no pleasure in fools. Fulfill your vow. It is better not to make a vow than to make one and not fulfill it. Do not let your mouth lead you into sin, and do not protest to the temple messenger. My vow was a mistake. Why should God be angry at what you say and destroy the work of your hands? Much dreaming and many words are meaningless. Therefore, fear God. Riches are meaningless. If you see the poor oppressed in a district and justice and rights denied, do not be surprised at such things, for one official is eyed by a higher one, and over them both are others higher still. The increase from the land is taken by all. The king himself profits from the fields. Whoever loves money never has enough. Whoever loves wealth is never satisfied with their income. This too is meaningless. As goods increase, so do those who consume them. And what benefit are they to the owners, except to feast their eyes on them? The sleep of a laborer is sweet, whether they eat little or much. But as for the rich, their abundance permits them no sleep. I have seen a grievous evil under the sun, wealth hoarded to the harm of its owners, or wealth lost through some misfortune, so that when they have children, there's nothing left for them to inherit. Everyone comes naked from their mother's womb, and as everyone comes, so they depart. They take nothing from their toil that they can carry in their hands. This too is a grievous evil. As everyone comes, so they depart. And what do they gain, since they toil for the wind? All their days they eat in darkness, with great frustration, affliction, and anger. This is what I have observed to be good, that it is appropriate for a person to eat, to drink, and to find satisfaction in their toilsome labor under the sun during the few days of life that God has given them. For this is their lot. Moreover, when God gives someone wealth and possessions and the ability to enjoy them, to accept their lot and be happy in their toil, this is a gift of God. They seldom reflect on the days of their life because God keeps them occupied with gladness of the heart.
Chapter 6. I have seen another evil under the sun, and it weighs heavily on mankind. God gives some people wealth, possessions, and honor, so that they lack nothing that their hearts desire. But God does not grant them the ability to enjoy them, and strangers enjoy them instead. This is meaningless, a grievous evil. A man may have 100 children and live many years, yet no matter how long he lives, if he cannot enjoy his prosperity and does not receive proper burial, I say that the stillborn child is better off than he. It comes without meaning. It departs in darkness, and in darkness its name is shrouded. Though it never saw the sun or knew anything, it has more rest than does that man, even if he lives 1,000 years twice over, but fails to enjoy his prosperity. Do not all go to the same place? Everyone's toil is for their mouth, yet their appetite is never satisfied. What advantage have the wise over the fools? What do the poor gain by knowing how to conduct themselves before others? Better what the eyes see than the roving of the appetite. This too is meaningless, a chastening after the wind. Whatever exits has already been named, and what humanity has been known. No one can contend with someone who is stronger. The more the words, the less the meaning, and how does that profit anyone? For who knows what is good for a person in life during the few and meaningless days they pass through like a shadow? Who can tell them what will happen under the sun after they are gone?
Ecclesiastes chapter 7, Wisdom. A good name is better than fine perfume, and the day of death better than the day of birth. It is better to go to a house of mourning than to go to a house of feasting, for death is the destiny of everyone. The living should take this to heart. Frustration is better than laughter, because a sad face is good for the heart. The heart of the wise is in the house of mourning, but the heart of fools is in the house of pleasure. It is better to heed the rebuke of a wise person than to listen to the song of fools. Like the crackling of thorns under the pot, so is the laughter of fools. This too is meaningless. Extortion turns a wise person into a fool, and a bribe corrupts the heart. The end of a matter is better than its beginning, and patience is better than pride. Do not be quickly provoked in your spirit, for anger resides in the lap of fools. Do not say, "Why were the old days better than these?" For it is not wise to ask such questions. Wisdom, like an inheritance, is a good thing and benefits those who see the sun. Wisdom is a shelter, as money is a shelter, but the advantage of the knowledge is this: wisdom preserves those who have it. Consider what God has done. Who can straighten what he has made crooked? When times are good, be happy, but when times are bad, consider this: God has made the one as well as the other. Therefore, No one can discover anything about their future. In this meaningless life of mine, I have seen both of these, the righteous perishing in their righteousness, and the wicked living long in their wickedness. Do not be over-righteous, neither be over-wise. Why destroy yourself? Do not be over-wicked, and do not be a fool. Why die before your time? It is good to grasp the one and not let go of the other. Whoever fears God will avoid all extremes. Wisdom makes one wise person more powerful than 10 rulers in a city. Indeed, there is no one on earth who is righteous, no one who does what is right and never sins. Do not pay attention to every word people say, or you may hear your servant cursing you, for you know in your heart that many times you yourself have cursed others. All this I tested by wisdom, and I said, I am determined to be wise. But this was beyond me. Whatever exists is far off and most profound. Who can discover it? So I turned my mind to understand, to investigate, and to search out wisdom and the scheme of things, and to understand the stupidity of wickedness and the madness of folly. I find more bitter than death the woman who is a snare, whose heart is a trap and whose hands are chains. The man who pleases God will escape her, but the sinner she will ensnare. Look, said the teacher, this is what I have discovered. Adding one thing to another to discover the scheme of things, while I was still searching but not finding, I found one upright man among 1,000, but not one upright woman among them all. This only have I found. God created mankind upright, but they have gone in search of many schemes.
Chapter 8. Who is like the wise, who knows the explanation of things? A person's wisdom brightens their face and changes its hard appearance. Obey the king's command, I say, because you took an oath before God. Do not be in a hurry to leave the king's presence. Do not stand up for a bad cause, for he will do whatever he pleases. Since a king's word is supreme, who can say to him, what are you doing? Whoever obeys his command will come to no harm, and the wise heart will know the proper time and procedure. For there is a proper time and procedure for every matter, though a person may be weighed down by misery. Since no one knows the future, who can tell someone else what is to come? As no one has the power over the wind to contain it, so no one has power over the times of their death. As no one is discharged in time of war, so wickedness will not release those who practice it. All this I saw as I applied my mind to everything done under the sun. There is a time when a man lords it over others to his own hurt. Then, too, I saw the wicked buried, those who used to come and go from the holy place and receive praise in the city where they did this. This, too, is meaningless. When the sentence for crime is not quickly carried out, people's hearts are filled with the shams to do wrong. Although a wicked person who commits 100 crimes may live a long time, I know that it will go better with those who fear God, who are reverent before him. Yet because the wicked do not fear God, it will not go well with them, and their days will not lengthen like a shadow. There is something else meaningless that occurs on earth. The righteous who get what the wicked deserve, and the wicked who get what the righteous deserve. This too, I say, is meaningless. So I commend the enjoyment of life, because there is nothing better for a person under the sun than to eat and drink and be glad. Then joy with accompany them in their toil all the days of their life God has given them under the sun. When I applied my mind to know wisdom and to observe the labor that is done on earth, people getting no sleep day or night, then I saw all that God has done. No one can comprehend what goes on under the sun. Despite all their efforts to search it out, no one can discover its meaning, even if the wise claim they know. they cannot really comprehend it.
Ecclesiastes chapter 9, a common destiny for all. So I reflected on all this and concluded that the righteous and the wise and what they do are in God's hands. But when no one knows whether love or hate awaits them, all share a common destiny, the righteous and the wicked, the good and the bad, the clean and the unclean, those who offer sacrifices and those who do not. As it is with the good, so with the sinful. As it is with those who take oaths, so with those who are afraid to take them. This is the evil in everything that happens under the sun. The same destiny overtakes all. The hearts of people, moreover, are full of evil, and there's madness in their hearts while they live, and afterward they join the dead. Anyone who is among the living has hope. Even a live dog is better off than a dead lion. For the living know that they will die, but the dead know nothing. They have no further reward, and even their name is forgotten. Their love, their hate, and their jealousy have long since vanished. Never again will they have a part in anything that happens under the sun. Go, eat your food with gladness, and drink your wine with a joyful heart, for God has already approved what you do. Always be clothed in white, and always anoint your head with oil. Enjoy life with your wife, whom you love, all the days of this meaningless life that God has given you under the sun. All your meaningless days, for this is your lot in life, and in your toilsome labor under the sun. Whatever your hand finds to do, do it with all your might, for in the realm of the dead, where you are going, there is neither working, nor planning, nor knowledge, nor wisdom. I have seen something else under the sun. The race is not to the swift, or the battle to the strong, nor does food come to the wise, or wealth to the brilliant, or favor to the learned, but time and chance happen to them all. Moreover, no one knows when their hour will come. As fish are caught in a cruel net, or birds are taken in a snare, so people are trapped by evil times that fall unexpectedly upon them. Wisdom better than folly. I also saw under the sun this example of wisdom that greatly impressed me. There was once a small city with only a few people in it, and a powerful king came against it, surrounded it, and built huge siege works against it. Now there lived in that city a man poor but wise, and he saved the city by his wisdom. But nobody remembered that poor man. So I said, wisdom is better than strength, but the poor man's wisdom is despised, and his words are no longer heeded. The quiet words of the wise are more to be heeded than the shouts of a ruler of fools. Wisdom is better than weapons of war, but one sinner destroys much good.
Chapter 10. As dead flies give perfume a bad smell, so a little folly outweighs wisdom and honor. The heart of the wise inclines to the right, but the heart of the fool to the left. Even as fools walk along the road, they lack sense and show everyone how stupid they are. If a ruler's anger rises against you, do not leave your post. Calmness can lay great offenses to rest. There is an evil I have seen under the sun, the sort of error that arises from a ruler. Fools are put in many high positions, while the rich occupy the low ones. I have seen slaves on horseback, while princes go on foot like slaves. Whoever digs a pit may fall into it. Whoever breaks through a wall may be bitten by its snake. Whoever quarrels stones may be injured by them. Whoever splits logs may be endangered by them. If an axe is dull and its edge unsharpened, more strength is needed, but skill will bring success. If a snake bites before it's charmed, the charmer receives no fee. Words from the mouth of the wise are gracious, but fools are consumed by their own lips. It's the beginning, their words are folly. At the end, they are wicked madness. The fools multiply words. No one knows what is coming. Who can tell someone else what will happen after them? The toil of fools wears them. They do not know the way to town. Woe to the land whose king was a servant, and whose princesses feast in the morning. Blessed is the land whose king is of noble birth, and whose princesses eat at proper time, for strength and not for drunkenness. Through laziness and rafters sag, because of idle hands the house leaks. A feast is made for laughter, wine makes life merry, and money is the answer for everything. Do not rival the king even in your thoughts, or curse the rich in your bedroom, because a bird in the sky may carry your words, and a bird on the wing may report what you say.
Ecclesiastes chapter 11. Invest in many ventures. Ship your grain across the sea. After many days you may receive a return. Invest in 7 ventures. Yes, in 8. You do not know what disaster may come upon the land. If clouds are full of water, they pour rain on the earth. Whether a tree falls to the south or to the north, in the place where it falls, there it will lie. Whoever watches the wind will not plant. Whoever looks at the clouds will not reap. As you do not know the path of the wind, or how the body is formed in a mother's womb, so you cannot understand the work of God, the maker of all things. Sow your seed in the morning, and at evening let your hands not be idle. For you do not know which will succeed, whether this or that, or whether both will do equally well. Remember your Creator while young. Light is sweet, and it pleases the eyes to see the sun. However many years anyone may live, let them enjoy them all. But let them remember the days of darkness, for there will be many. Everything to come is meaningless. You who are young, be happy while you are young, and let your heart give you joy in the days of your youth. Follow the ways of your heart and whatever your eyes see, but know that for all these things, God will bring you into judgment. So then banish anxiety from your heart and cast off the troubles of your body, for youth and vigor are meaningless. Chapter 12.
Chapter 12. Remember your Creator in the days of your youth, before the days of trouble come, and the years approach when you will say, I find no pleasure in them. Before the sun and the light and the moon and the stars grow dark, and the clouds return after the rain, when the keepers of the house tremble, and the strong men stoop, when the grinders cease because they are few, and those looking through the windows groan dim, when the doors to the street are closed, and the sound of grinding fades, when people rise up in the sound of birds, but all their songs grow faint, when people are afraid of heights and of dangers in the streets, when the almond tree blossoms and the grasshoppers drag itself along, and desire no longer is stirred, then people go to their eternal home, and mourners go about the streets. Remember him before the silver cord is severed and the golden bowl is broken, before the pitcher is shattered and at the spring, and the wheel broken at the well, and the dust returns to the ground it came from, and the spirit returns to God who gave it. Meaningless, meaningless, says the teacher. Everything is meaningless. Not only are the teachers wise, but who also impart knowledge to the people. He pondered and searched out and set in order many proverbs. The teacher searches to find just the right words, and what to write was upright and true. The words of the wise are like gourds that they're collected, saying, like firmly embedded nails given by our shepherd. Be warned, my son, everything in addition to them, of making my books. There's no end. Much study worries the body. How all has been heard. There is the conclusion of the matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the duty of all mankind. For God will bring every deed into judgment, including every hidden thing, whether it is good or evil.
Song of Songs, Chapter 1, Solomon's Song of Songs. She let him kiss me with the kisses of his mouth, for your love is more delightful than wine. Pleasing is the fragrance of your perfumes. Your name is like perfume poured out. No wonder the young women love you. Take me away with you. Let us hurry. Let the king bring me into his chambers. Friends, we rejoice and delight in you. We will praise your love more than wine. She, how right they are to adore you. Dark am I, yet lovely, daughters of Jerusalem, dark like the tents of Kedar, like the tent curtains of Solomon. Do not stare at me because I am darkened by the sun. My mother's sons were angry with me and made me take care of the vineyards. My own vineyard I had to neglect. Tell me, you whom I love, where you graze your flock and where you rest your sheep at midday. Why should I be like a veiled woman beside the flocks of your friends? Friends, if you do not know, most beautiful of women, follow the tracks of the sheep and graze your young goats by the tents of the shepherds. I liken you, my darling, to a mare among Pharaoh's chariot horses. Your cheeks are beautiful with earrings, your neck with strings of jewels. We will make your earrings of gold studded with silver. While the king was at his table, my perfume spread its fragrance. My beloved is to me a sachet of myrrh resting between my breasts. My beloved is to me a cluster of henna blossoms from the vineyards of En-Gedi. How beautiful you are, my darling. Oh, how beautiful. Your eyes are doves. How handsome you are, my beloved. How charming in our bed is verdant. The beams of our house are cedars, our rafters are firs. Chapter 2. I am a rose of Sharon, a lily of the valleys. Like a lily among thorns, is my darling among the young women. Like an apple tree among the trees of the forest, is my beloved among the young men. I delight to sit in his shade, and his fruit is sweet to my taste. Let him lead me to the banquet hall, and let his banner over me be love. Strengthen me with raisins, refresh me with apples, for I am faint with love. His left arm is under my head, and his right arm embraces me. Daughters of Jerusalem, I charge you by the gazelles and by the does of the field, do not arouse or awaken love until it so desires. Listen, my beloved, look, here he comes, leaping across the mountains, bounding over the hills. My beloved is like a gazelle or a young stag. Look, there he stands out behind our wall, gazing through the windows, peering through the lattice. My beloved spoke and said to me, Arise, my darling, my beautiful one, come with me. See, the winter is past, the rains are over and gone, flowers appear on the earth. The seasons of singing has come, the cooing of doves is heard in our land, the fig tree forms its early fruit. The blossoming vines spread their fragrance. Arise, come, my darling, my beautiful one, come with me. My dove in the clefts of the rock, in the hiding places on the mountainside, show me your face. Let me hear your voice, for your voice is sweet and your face is lovely. Catch for us the foxes, the little foxes that ruin the vineyards, our vineyards that are in bloom. My beloved is mine and I am his. He browses among the lilies until the day breaks and the shadows flee. Turn, my beloved, and be like a gazelle or like a young stag on the rugged hills.
I'm going to read it in a different language. Song of Songs, Chapter 3. Sa gabi, habang ako'y nakahiga, nananabig ako sa aking minamahal. Hinahanap-hanap ko siya, subalit hindi makita. Kaya bumangon ako't nilibot ang lungsod sa mga lansangan at mga liwasan. Hinanap ko ang aking mahal, pero hindi ko siya makita. Nakita ako ng mga gwardiya sa naglilibot sa lungsod. Tinanong ko sila, nakita ba ninyo ang mahal ko? Hindi pa man ako nakakalayo sa kanila. Nakita ko ang mahal ko. Hinawakan ko siya ng buong higpit at hindi binitiwan hanggang nadala ko siya sa bahay ng aking ina, doon sa silid kung saan ako nabuo. Kayong mga dalaga ng Jerusalem, manggako kayo sa pamamagitan ng mga batang usa at kasela na hindi ninyo hahayaang ang pag-ibig ay umusbong hanggat hindi pa dumarating ang tamang panahon. Sino kaya itong dumarating mula sa ilang na tila makapal sa usok na amoy mira at esensong itinitinda ng manggang lakal? Tingnan ninyo, iyan ang kwarahe ni Solomon sa napapalibutan ng 60 pinakamagagaling na kawal ng Israel. Lahat sila'y mayroong espada at bihasa sa pakikipaglaban, laging handa kahit sa gabi man sumalakay. Ang kwarwaheng iyon na ipinagawa ng Haring Solomon ay yari sa kahoy na galing sa Lebanon. Nababalot sa pilak at haligi nito at palamuting ginto at tumatakip dito. Ang kutson ng upuan ay binulot sa telang kulay, ube at mga babaeng taga Jerusalem ang nagpapaganda ng loob sa karwahe. Lumabas kayo, kayong mga dalaga ng Jerusalem, at tingnan ninyo sa Haring Solomon na may korona. Ipinutong ito sa kanya ng kanyang ina sa araw at kanyang kasal, ang araw na buong puso niyang ikinagalak.
Chapter 4, He, how beautiful you are, my darling. Oh, how beautiful. Your eyes behind your veil are doves. Your hair is like a flock of goats descending from the hills of Gilead. Your teeth are like a flock of sheep just shorn, coming up from the washing. Each has its twin, not one of them is alone. Your lips are like a scarlet ribbon, your mouth is lovely. Your temples behind your veil are like the halves of a pomegranate. Your neck is like the Tower of David, built with courses of stone, on it hanging 1,000 shields, all of them shields of warriors. Your breasts are like two fawns, like twin fawns of a gazelle that browse among the lilies. Until the day breaks and the shadows flee, I will go to the mountain of myrrh and to the hill of incense. You are altogether beautiful, my darling. There is no flaw in you. Come with me from Lebanon, my bride. Come with me from Lebanon. Descend from the crest of Amana, from the top of Senir, the summit of Hermon, from the lions' dens and the mountain haunts of leopards. You have stolen my heart, my sister, my bride. You have stolen my heart with one glance of your eyes, with one jewel of your necklace. How delightful is your love, my sister, my bride. How much more pleasing is your love than wine, and the fragrance of your perfume more than any spice. Your lips drop sweetness as the honeycomb, my bride. Milk and honey are under your tongue. The fragrance of your garments is like the fragrance of Lebanon. You are a garden locked up, my sister, my bride. You are spring enclosed, a sealed fountain. Your plants are an orchard of pomegranates with choice fruits, with henna and nard and saffron, calamus and cinnamon, with every kind of incense tree, and myrrh and aloes and all the finest spices. You are a garden fountain, a well of flowing water streaming down from Lebanon. She, awake, north wind, and come, south wind. Blow on my garden, that its fragrance may spread everywhere. Let my beloved come into his garden and taste its choice fruits.
Song of Songs, chapter 5, Lalaki. Nasa hardin ako, ngayon aking irog, na magiging kabiyak ko. Nangguha ako ng mira at mga pabango. Kinain ko ang aking pulot at ininom ang aking alak at gatas, mga babae ng Jerusalem. Kayong mga magmamahalan, kumain kayo at uminom, babae. Habang ako'y natutulog, nanaginip ako, narinig kong kumakantok at mahal ko. Ang sabi niya, Papasukin mo ako, irog ko, basang-basa na ng hamog ang ulo ko. Pero sinabi ko, hinubad ko na ang aking damit. Isusuot ko pa ba itong muli? Hinugasan ko na ang aking mga paa. Dumdumihan ko pa ba itong muli? Nang hawakan ng aking mahal ang susian ng pinto, biglang tumibok ng mabilis ang aking puso. Pumangon ako upang siya'y papasukin, at nang hawakan ko at susian ng pinto, tumulo ang mira sa kamay ko. Binuksan ko ang pinto para sa aking mahal, pero wala na siya. Hinanap ko siya, pero hindi ko siya makita. Tinawag ko siya, pero walang sumagot. Nakita ako ng mga gwardiya na naglilibot sa lungsod. Pinalaw nila ako at ako'y nasugatan. Kinuha pa nila ang aking damit. Kayong mga babae ng Jerusalem, mangako kayo sa akin. Kapag nakita ninyo ang aking mahal, sabihin ninyo sa kanyang naghihina ako dahil sa pag-ibig. Mga babae ng Jerusalem, o babaeng pinakamaganda, ano bang mayroon sa iyong minamahal sa wala iba, at kami ay iyong pinasusumpa pa? Siya ba'y talagang nagkakahigit sa iba? Babae, ang aking mahal ay magisig at mula ang kutis. Nag-iisa lamang siya sa 10,000 lalaki. Mas mahal pa sa ginto ang kanyang ulo. Buhok niya'y medyo kulot sa kasing itim ng uwak. Mga mata niya'y napakagandang pagmasdan, tulad ng mamahaling hiyas at tulad ng mata at mga kalapati na kasing puti ng gatas sa tabi ng batis. Mga pisngi niya'y kasing bango ng harding, puno na halamang ginagawang pabango. At ang mga labi niya'y para mga liryo sa dinadaluyan ng mira. Mga bisig niya'y tila mahahabang pareta ng ginto ay napapalamutian ng mamahaling bato. Katawa'y tila pangil ng elepante, makinag at napapalamutian ng mga batong safiro. Mga paa niya ay tulad ng mga haliging marmol sa nakatayo sa pundasyong ginto. Napakaganda niyang pagmasdan, tulad ng mga puno ng cedro sa Lebanon. Kay tamis halikan ng kanyang bibig, tunay ngang siya'y kaakit-akit. O mga babae ng Jerusalem, siya ang aking mahal at aking iniibig.
6. Friends, where has your beloved gone, most beautiful of women? Which way did your beloved turn, that we may look for him with you? She, my beloved has gone down to his garden, to the beds of spices, to browse in the gardens and to gather lilies. I am my beloved's, and my beloved is mine. He browses among the lilies. He, you are as beautiful as Tirzah, my darling, as lovely as Jerusalem, as majestic as troops with banners. Turn your eyes from me, they overwhelm me. Your hair is like a flock of goats descending from Gilead. Your teeth are like a flock of sheep coming up from the washing. Each has its twin, not one of them is missing. Your temples behind your veil are like the halves of a pomegranate. 60 queens there may be, and 80 concubines, and virgins beyond number. But my dove, my perfect one, is unique, the only daughter of her mother, the favorite of the one who bore her. The young women saw her and called her blessed. The queens and concubines praised her. Friends, who is this that appears like the dawn, fair as the moon, bright as the sun, majestic as the stars in procession? He, I went down to the grove of nut trees to look at the new growth in the valley. to see if the vines had budded or the pomegranates were in blossom. Before I realized it, my desire set me among the royal chariots of my people. Friends, come back, O Shulamite, come back, that we may gaze on you. Why would you gaze on the Shulamite as on the dance of Mahanaim?
Song of Songs, chapter 7. O maharlikang babae, napakaganda ng mga paa mong may sandalyas. Hugis ng iyong mga hitay parang mga alahas na gawa ng bihasa. Ang puso't mo'y kasim bilog ng tasang laging puno at masarap na alak. Ang baywang mo'y parang ibinigkis na trigong napapaligiran ng mga liryo. Ang dibdib mo'y tila kambal na batang usa. Ang leeg mo'y parang toreng gawa sa pangil ng elepante. Ang mga mata mo'y kasing lingaw ng batis sa Heshbon, malapit sa pintuang bayan ng Bet Rabin. Ang ilong mo'y kasing ganda ng tore ng Lebanon na nakaharap sa Damasco. Ang ulo mo'y kasing ganda ng bundok ng Carmel. Ang buhok mo'y kasing kintab ng mga maharlikang kasuotan at ang hari nabihag sa kagandahan nito. O napakaganda mo, aking sinta, umaapaw ka sa kiriktan. Ang tindig mo'y parang puno sa palma at ang dibdib mo'y parang mga bunga nito. At aking sinabi, aakyat ako sa palma at hahawak sa kanyang mga bunga. Ang iyong dibdib ay parang katulad ng kumpol sa ubas at ang samyo ng iyong hiningay parang mansanas. At halik mo'y kasing tamis ng pinakamasarap sa alak. Ang alak na ito'y dahan-dahang dumadaloy mula sa labi ng aking minamahal. Babae, ako ay sa kanya lang at ako lamang at kanyang inaasam. Halika, mahal ko, halika. Pumunta tayo sa bukid at doon magpalipas ng gabi. Sa tabi ng mga bulaklak ng henna, maaga tayong gumising at ating tingnan kung namulaklak at numunga sa ubasan. Tingnan din natin kung namumukadkad at ang mga pomegranata, at doon ipadarama ko sa iyo ang aking pagmamahal. Maaamoy mo ang bango ng mandragora at malapit sa ating pintuan ay may mga piling hain sa prutas, luma at bago, sapagkat ang mga ito'y sadyang inahanda ko para sa iyo, aking mahal.
Chapter 8. If only you were to me like a brother who was nursed at my mother's breast. Then if I found you outside, I would kiss you and no one would despise me. I would lead you and bring you to my mother's house, she who has taught me. I would give you spiced wine to drink, the nectar of my pomegranates. His left arm is under my head, and his right arm embraces me. Daughters of Jerusalem, I charge you, do not arouse or awaken love until it so desires. Friends, who is this coming up from the wilderness, leaning on her beloved? She, under the apple tree I roused you, there your mother conceived you, there she who was in labor gave you birth. Place me like a seal over your heart, like a seal on your arm. For love is as strong as death, its jealousy unyielding as the grave. It burns like blazing fire, like a mighty flame. Many waters cannot quench love. Rivers cannot sweep it away. If one were to give all the wealth of one's house for love, it would be utterly scorned. Friends, we have a little sister, and her breasts are not yet grown. What shall we do for our sister on the day she is spoken for? If she is a wall, we will build towers of silver on her. If she is a door, we will enclose her with panels of cedar. She, I am a wall, and my breasts are like towers. Thus I have become in his eyes like one bringing contentment. Solomon had a vineyard in Baal-Hamon. He let out his vineyard to tenants. Each was to bring for its fruit 1,000 shekels of silver. But my own vineyard is mine to give. The 1,000 shekels are for you, Solomon, and 200 are for those who tend its fruit. You who dwell in the gardens with friends and attendants, let me hear your voice. She, come away, my beloved, and be like a gazelle or like a young stag on the spice-laden mountains.
Isaiah chapter 1. Ang aklat na ito'y tungkol sa ipinahayag ng Diyos kay Isaias na anak ni Amos. Tungkol ito sa Judah at Jerusalem noong magkakasunod na naghari sa Judah sina Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz at Hezekiah. Pakinggan ninyo langit at lupa, dahil sinabi ng Panginoon, inalagaan ko't pinalaki ang mga Israelita na aking mga anak, pero nagrebelde sila sa akin. Kahit at mga bakay kilala ang kinilang tagapag-alaga at ang mga asnoy, alam kung saang sabsaban sila pinapakain ng nagmamay-ari sa kanila. Pero ang mga mamamayan kung Israelita ay hindi nakakakilala sa akin. Sila ay bansang makasalanan ng mga taong punong-puno sa kasamaan, lahi ng mga gumagawa ng masama at mapaminsala, itinakwil nila sa kinutya ng Panginoon, ang banal na Diyos ng Israel, at siya'y tinalikuran nila. Mga taga-Israel, bakit patuloy kayong nagre-rebelde? Gusto pa ba ninyong maparusahan? Para kayong tao na puro sugat ang ulo at ang puso'y puno ng sakit. Mula ulo hanggang talampakan, walang bahagi sa walang sugat, pasa at pamamaga. Hindi ito nahuhugasan at nabebendahan o nagagamot. Hindi na mapakinabangan ang inyong bansa. Sinunog ng mga dayuhan ang mga lungsod ninyo. Kitang-kita ninyong sinasamsam nila ang mga bunga ng inyong panananim. Sinisira nila ang inyong lupain hanggang sa hindi na mapakinabangan. Walang natira kundi ang Jerusalem. Para itong silungan sa isang ubasan o isang kubol sa taniman ng mga pipino ay mag-isang nakatayo, at para ring lungsod sa pinalibutan ng kaaway. Kung ang Panginoong makapangyarihan ay hindi nagtira ng ilang sa atin, na tulad na sana tayo sa Sodom at Gomorrah. Kayong mga pinuno at mga mamamayan ng Jerusalem, na katulad ng mga taga Sodom at Gomorrah, pakinggan ninyo sa salita at kautusan ng Panginoon at na ating Diyos. Sabi niya, baliwala sa akin ang napakarami ninyong handog. Sawang-sawa na ako sa iyong mga handog sa sinusunog, at mga tupa at mga taba ng mga tabang hayop. Hindi ako nalulugod sa dugo ng mga toro, tupa at mga kambing. Sino ang nag-utos sa inyo na nag-utos sa inyong tumapak sa aking templo? Tigilan nyo ang pagdadala ng mga handog na waling silbi. Nasusukan ako sa amoy ng mga esensyo ninyo. Hindi ko na matilis ang mga pagtitipon nyo kapag pista ng pagsimula ng buwan at kapag araw ng pamamahinga, dahil kahit na nagtitipon kayo, gumagawa kayo ng kasamaan. Nasusuklam ako sa iyong mga pista ng bagong buwan at sa iba ninyong mga pista. Sobra-sobra na. Hindi ko na ito matilis. Kapag mananalangin kayo, hindi ko kayo papansinin. Kahit paulit-ulit na pa kayong manalangin, hindi ko kayo pakikinggan dahil marami kayong pinatay na tao. Linisin ninyo ang iyong sarili. Tigilan na ninyo ang paggawa at kasamaan sa aking harapan. Pag-aralan ninyong gumawa ng mabuti at pairalin ang katurungan. Sawayin ninyo ang mga nang-aapi at ipagtanggol ninyo ang karapatan ng mga ulila at mga biyuda. Sinabi pa ang Panginoon, halikayo't pag-usapan natin ito, kahit gaano man karumi ang ninyong mga kasalanan. Lilinisin ko iyan para maging malinis kayo. Kung susunod lang kayo sa akin ay pagpapalain ko kayo, pero kung patuloy kayong magre-rebelde, tiyak na mamamatay kayo. Mangyayari nga ito dahil sinabi ng Panginoon. Tingnan niyo ang lungsod sa Jerusalem. Matapat ito noon, pero ngayon para ng babaeng bayaran. Dati mga taong matuwid ang mga nakatira rito, pero ngayon ay mga mamamatay tao. Jerusalem, dati imahalaga katulad ng pilak, pero ngayon ay wala ka ng silbi. Noon para kang mamahaling alak, pero ngayon ay para ka ng alak na may halong tubig. At mga pinuno mo'y mga suwail at kasabwat ng mga magnanakaw. Gusto nila palagi ng suhol at nang hihingi ng mga regalo. Hindi nila ipanagtatanggol at karapatan ng mga ulila at hindi rin nila pinapakinggan ang daing ng mga biyuda. Kaya sinabi ng Panginoon at makapangyarihang Diyos ng Israel, gagaan ang kalooban ko kapag naparusahan ko ng kayong mga taga-Jerusalem na aking mga kaaway. Parurusahan ko kayo para magbago kayo katulad ng pilak na dinadalisay sa apoy. Muli ko kayong bibigyan ng mga pinuno at mga tagapayo, katulad noong una, at ang lungsod ninyo ay tatawaging lungsod ng mga matuwid at tapat na mga tao. Magsisisi ang mga tao sa Jerusalem, at ito ay ililigtas ng Diyos at maging matuwid pagtrato ng mga pinuno sa lahat ng mga mamamayan. That's so hard. Pero lilipulin niya ang mga suwail at mga makasalanan, ang mga taong tumalikod sa Panginoon. Mapapahiya kayo na mga taga-Jerusalem dahil sa pagsamba ninyo sa mga puno at ensina at sa mga sagradong halamanan. Matutulad kayo sa isang nalalantang puno ng ensina at sa isang halamanang hindi nadidiligan. Ang mga makapangyarihan sa inyo ay magiging katulad ng tuyong kahoy na madaling masunog at ang masasama nilang gawa ay magiging parang tilasmik ng apoy na susunog sa kanila. Walang makakapatay sa apoy na inyon.
That's good. Chapter 2, the mountain of the Lord. This is what Isaiah, son of Amoz, saw concerning Judah and Jerusalem. In the last days, the mountain of the Lord's temple will be established as the highest of the mountains. It will be exalted above the hills, and all nations will stream to it. Many peoples will come and say, "Come, let us go up to the mountain of the Lord, to the temple of the God of Jacob. He will teach us his ways so that we may walk in his paths. The law will go out from Zion, the word of the Lord from Jerusalem. He will nudge between the nations and will settle disputes for many peoples. They will beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation will not take up sword against nation, nor will they train for war anymore. Come, descendants of Jacob, let us walk in the light of the Lord." The day of the Lord. You, Lord, have abandoned your people, the descendants of Jacob. They are full of superstitions from the east. They practice divinations like the Philistines and embrace pagan customs. Their land is full of silver and gold. There is no end to their treasures. Their land is full of horses. There is no end to their chariots. Their land is full of idols. They bow down to the work of their hands, to what their fingers have made. So people will be brought low and everyone humbled. Do not forgive them. Go into the rocks, hide in the ground from the fearful presence of the Lord and the splendor of his majesty. The eyes of the arrogant will be humbled and human pride brought low. The Lord alone will be exalted in that day. The Lord Almighty has a day in store for all the proud and lofty, for all that is exalted, and they will be humbled, for all the cedars of Lebanon, tall and lofty, and all the oaks of Bashan, for all the towering mountains and all the high hills, for every lofty tower and every fortified wall, for every trading ship and every stately vessel. The arrogance of man will be brought low and human pride humbled. The Lord alone will be exalted in that day, and the idols will totally disappear. People will flee to caves in the rocks and to holes in the ground from the fearful presence of the Lord and the splendor of his majesty, when he rises to shake the earth. In that day, people will throw away to the moles and bats their idols of silver and idols of gold, which they made to worship. They will flee to caverns in the rocks and to the overhanging crags from the fearful presence of the Lord and the splendor of his majesty. When he rises to shake the earth, stop trusting in mere humans who have but a breath in their nostrils. Why hold them in esteem?
Isaiah chapter 3. Makinig kayo. Kukunin ng Panginoon ang Panginoong makapangyarihan ang lahat ng inaasahan ng mga taga-Jerusalem at taga-Juda, ang pagkain at tubig nila. Ang mga bayani, kawal, hukom, propeta, manghuhula, tagapamalaha, kapitan ng mga kawal, mararangal na tao, mga tagapayo at ang mga dalubhasang salamangkero nila at mga manggagayuma at pamumunuin ng Panginoon sa kanila ay mga kabataan. Aapihin ng bawat sa isa at kanyang kapwa. Lalabanan ng mga bata ang matatanda at lalabanan ng mga hamak ang mararangal. Sa mga araw na iyon, pupuntahan ng isang tao ang kanyang kamag-anak at sasabihin, "Maayos pa naman ang damit mo, ikaw na lang ang mamuno sa amin sa panahong ito na wasak at ang ating lugar. Pero sasagot siya, hindi ko kayo matutulungan. Wala ring pagkain o damit ang aking pamilya, kaya huwag niyo akong gagawing pinuno. Tiyak na mawawasak ang Jerusalem at Judah dahil nilalabag nila ang Panginoon sa kanilang mga salita at gawa. Nilalapastangan nila at makapangyarihang presensya ng Panginoon. Halatang halata sa mga mukha nila ang kanilang pagkakasala. Hayagan silang gumagawa ng kasalanan tulad ng Sodom at Gomorrah. Hindi na nila ito itinatago. Nakakaawa sila. Sila na mismo ang nagpapahamak sa sarili nila. Sabihin ninyo ng mga matuwid na mapalad sila dahil anihin ng nila ang bunga ng mabubuti nilang gawa. Pero nakakaawa ang masasama dahil darating sa kanila ang kapahamakan. Gagantihan sila ayon sa mga ginawa nila. Sinabi ng Panginoon, inaapi ng mga kabataan ang mga mamamayan ko. Pinamumunuan sila ng mga babae. Mga mamamayan ko, nalilin lang kayo ng mga pinuno ninyo. Inaakay nila kayo sa maling daan. Nakahanda na ang Panginoon para hatulan ang kanyang mga mamamayan. Hahatulan niya ang mga taga-pamahala at mga pinuno ng mga mamamayan niya. Ito ang paratang niya sa kanila. Sinira ninyo ang aking ubasan sa siyang aking mga mamamayan, at mga bahay ninyo ay puno ng mga bagay na sinamsam ninyo sa mga mahihirap. Bakit ninyo inaapi ang mga mamamayan ko at ginigipit ang mga mahihirap? Iyan ang sinabi ng Panginoong Diyos na makapangyarihan. Sinabi pa ng Panginoon, mayayabang ang mga babae sa Jerusalem. Akala mo kung sino sila kung maglakad. Pinakakalansing pa nila ang mga alahas sa mga paa nila at patutubuan ko ng mga galis ang mga ulo nila at makalbo sila. Sa araw na iyon, kukunin ng Panginoon ang mga alahas sa kanilang paa, ulo at leeg. Kukunin din sa kanila ang kanilang mga hikaw, pulseras, belo, turban, alahas sa braso, sinturon, pabango at mga ating-ating. Kukunin pati ang kanilang mga singsing at daliri at ilong, ang mga kanilang mga mamahaling damit, mga kapa, mga balabal, mga pitaka, mga salamin, mga damit na telang linen, mga putong at mga belo. Kung dati silang mabango, babaho sila. Lubid ang isisinturo nila at kakalbuhin ang magaganda nilang buhok. Ang magagara nilang damit at papalitan ng sako at mawala ng kanilang kagandahan. Mamamatay na digmahan ang mga lalaki ng Jerusalem kahit na ang matatapang nilang mga kawal. May mga iyakan at pagluluksa sa mga pintuan ng bayan. at ang lungsod at matutulad sa babaeng nakalupasay sa lupa na nawalan ng lahat ng ari-arian.
Chapter 4. In that day, 7 women will take hold of one man and say, "We will eat our own food and provide our own clothes. Only let us be called by your name. Take away our disgrace." The branch of the Lord. In that day, the branch of the Lord will be beautiful and glorious, and the fruit of the land will be the pride and glory of the survivors in Israel. Those who are left in Zion, who remain in Jerusalem, will be called holy, all who are recorded among the living in Jerusalem. The Lord will wash away the filth of the women of Zion. He will cleanse the bloodstains from the Jerusalem by a spirit of judgment and a spirit of fire. Then the Lord will create over all of Mount Zion and over those who assemble there a cloud of smoke by day and a glow of flaming fire by night. Over everything the glory will be a canopy. It will be a shelter and shade from the heat of the day and a refuge and hiding place from the storm and rain.
It's a long one.
You can break it up if you want.
Okay. Isaiah chapter 5. Aawit ako para sa aking minamahal tungkol sa kanyang ubasan. May ubasan na ang aking minamahal sa burol na mataba ang lupa. Inararo niya ito, inalisan ng mga bato at tinamnan ng mga piling ubas. Nagtayo siya ng isang pantayang tore sa ubasang ito at nagpagawa ng pigaan ng ubas sa bato. Pagkatapos, naghintay siyang mabunga ito ng matamis, pero nagbunga ito ng maasim. Kaya ito ang sinabi ng may-ari ng ubasan, kayong mga mamamayan ng Jerusalem at Judah, hatulan niyo ako at ang aking ubusan. Ano pa ang nakalimutan kong gawin sa ubasan ko? Matamis na bunga ang inaasan ko, pero nang pitasin ko ito ay maasim. Sasabihin ko sa inyo ang gagawin ko sa ubasan ko. Alisin ko ang mga nakapaligid niya, halaman na nagsisilbing bakod at ubasan. At wawasakin ko ang pader nito para kainin ng apak-apakan ng mga hayop at ang mga tanim na ubas. Pababayaan ko na lang ito, hindi na aasikasuhin. Hindi ko na rin ito pupuntulan ng mga sanga o bubungkalin. Hahayaan ko na lang ito na mabaon sa mga damo at mga halamang may tinik. At uutusan ko ang mga ulap sa huwag itong patakan ng ulan. Ang ubasan ng Panginoon makapangyarihan sa kanyang inalagaan at magbibigay sana sa kanya kaligayahan ang Israel at Judah. Umasa siyang paiiralin nila ang katurungan, pero pumatay sila. Umasa siyang paiiralin nila ang katuwiran, pero pang-aapi ang ginawa nila.
Woes and judgments. Woe to you who add house to house and join field to field, till no space is left and you live alone in the land. The Lord Almighty has declared in my hearing, surely the great houses will become desolate, the fine mansions left without occupants. A 10-acre vineyard will produce only a bath of wine. A homer of seed will yield only an ephah of grain. Woe to those who rise early in the morning to run after their drinks, who stay up late at night till they are inflamed with wine. They have harps and lyres at their banquets, pipes and timbrels and wine, but they have no regard for the deeds of the Lord, no respect for the work of his hands. Therefore, my people will go into exile for lack of understanding. Those of high rank will die of hunger, and the common people will be parched with thirst. Therefore, death expands its jaws, opening wide its mouth. Into it will descend their nobles and masses with all their brawlers and revelers. So people will be brought low, and everyone humbled, the eyes of the arrogant humbled. But the Lord Almighty will be exalted by his justice. The holy God will be proved holy by his righteous acts. Then sheep will graze as in their own pasture. Lambs will feed among the ruins of the rich. Woe to those who draw sin along with cords of deceit, and wickedness as with cart ropes. To those who say, let God hurry, let him hasten his work so we may see it. The plan of the Holy One of Israel, let it approach, let it come into view so we may know it. Woe to those who call evil good and good evil, who put darkness for light and light for darkness, who put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. Woe to those who are wise in their own eyes and clever in their own sight. Woe to those who are heroes at drinking wine and champions at mixing drinks, who acquit their guilty for a bribe but deny justice to the innocent. Therefore, as tongues of fire lick up straw, and as dry grass sinks down in the flames, so their roots will decay and their flowers blow away like dust. For they have rejected the law of the Lord Almighty and spurned the word of the Holy One of Israel. Therefore, the Lord's anger burns against his people. His hand is raised and he strikes them down. The mountains shake and the dead bodies are like refuse in the streets. Yet for all this, his anger is not turned away. His hand is still upraised. He lifts up a banner for the distant nations. He whistles for those at the ends of the earth. Here they come swiftly and speedily. Not one of them grows tired or stumbles. Not one slumbers or sleeps. Not a belt is loosened at the waist, not a sandal strap is broken. Their arrows are sharp, all their bows are strung. Their horses' hooves seem like flint, their chariot wheels like a whirlwind. Their roar is like that of the lion. They roar like young lions. They growl as they seize their prey and carry it off with no one to rescue. In that day they will roar over it like the roaring of the sea. And if one looks at the land, there's only darkness and distress. Even the sun will be darkened by clouds.
Isaiah chapter 6. Noong taon ng pagkamatay ng Haring Uzziah, nakita ko ang Panginoon na nakaupo sa napakataas sa trono, at mahabang damit niya ay tumakip sa buong templo. May mga makalangit na nilalang sa gawing ulo niya. Ang bawat isa sa kanila ay may 6 na pakpak. Ang dalawang pakpak ay nakatakip sa kanilang mukha at 2 ay nakatakip sa kanilang paa at 2 ay ginagamit nila sa paglipad. Sinasabi nila sa isa-isa, Banal, banal, banal ang Panginoong makapangyarihan. Ang kapangyarihan niya'y sumasakop sa buong mundo. Sa lakas ng tinig nila, nayanig ng mga pundasyon ng templo at napuno ng usok at loob ng templo. Sinabi ko, nakakaawa ko, tiyak na mapapahamak ako dahil ako'y may makasalanang labi at naninirahan ako sa piling ng mga taong makasalanan din ang mga labi. At ngayon nakita ko ang hari, ang Panginoong makapangyarihan. Pagkatapos lumipad ang isa sa mga makalangit sa nilalang papunta sa akin. May dala siyang baga na kinuha niya sa altar. Inalapat niya ang baga sa aking bibig at sinabi, Hinipon nito ang iyong bibig at wala ka ng kasalanan dahil pinatawad ka na. Pagkatapos, narinig ako ang tinig ng Panginoong na nagsasabi, Sino ang susuguin ko? Sino ang lalakad para sa amin? Sumagot ako, Narito po ako ang isugo ninyo. Sinabi niya, Umalis ka at sabihin mo sa mga mamamayan ng Israel, makinig man kayo ng magkinig ay hindi rin kayo makakaunawa. tumingin man kayo ng tumingin, hindi rin kayo nakakakita. Sinabi pa niya, patigasin mo ang puso ng mga taong ito, hayaan mo silang mabibingi-bingihan at mabulagan, dahil baka makarinig sila, makakita at makaunawa, dahil kung makaunawa sila, magbabalik loob sila sa akin at gagaling. Nagtanong ako, Panginoon, gaano katagal? Sumagot siya, hanggang sa mawasak ang mga lungsod ng Israel at wala nang manirahan dito, hanggang sa wala nang tumira sa mga bahay at ang lupain ay maging tiwangwang at wasak, hanggang sa palayasin ko ang mga Israelita at ang lupain nila ay mapabayaan na, kahit maiwan pa ang ika-10 bahagi ng mga Israelita sa lupain ng Israel, lilipulin pa rin sila. Pero may mga pinili akong matitira sa kanila. Ang katulad nila ay tuod ng pinutol ng punong ensina.
Isaiah chapter 7, the sign of Emmanuel. When Ahaz, son of Jotham, the son of Uzziah, was king of Judah, King Rezin of Aram and Pekah, son of Remaliah, king of Israel, marched up to fight against Jerusalem, but they could not overpower it. Now the house of David was told, Aram has allied itself with Ephraim. So the hearts of Ahaz and his people were shaken as the trees of the forest are shaken by the wind. Then the Lord said to Isaiah, go out, you and your son Shear-Jashub, to meet Ahaz at the end of the aqueduct of the upper pool, on the road to the launderer's field. Say to him, be careful, keep calm, and don't be afraid. Do not lose heart because of these 2 smoldering stubs of firewood, because of the fierce anger of Rezin and Aram and of the son of Remaliah. Aram, Ephraim, and Remaliah's son have plotted your ruin, saying, let us invade Judah. Let us tear it apart and divide it among ourselves and make the son of Tabeel king over it. Yet this is what the sovereign Lord says. It will not take place, it will not happen, for the head of Aram is Damascus, and the head of Damascus is only Rezin. Within 65 years, Ephraim will be too shattered to be a people. The head of Ephraim is Samaria, and the head of Samaria is only Remaliah's son. If you do not stand firm in your faith, you will not stand at all. Again, the Lord spoke to Ahaz, ask the Lord your God for a sign, whether in the deepest depths or in the highest heights. But Ahaz said, I will not ask. I will not put the Lord to the test. Then Isaiah said, hear now, you house of David, is it not enough to try the patience of humans? Will you also try the patience of my God also? Therefore, the Lord himself will give you a sign. The virgin will conceive and give birth to a son, and will call him Emmanuel. He will be eating curds and honey when he knows enough to reject the wrong and choose the right. For before the boy knows enough to reject the wrong and choose the right, the land of the 2 kings you dread will be laid waste. The Lord will bring on you and on your people and on the house of your father a time unlike any since Ephraim broke away from Judah. He will bring the king of Assyria. Assyria, the Lord's instrument. In that day, the Lord will whisper for flies from the Nile Delta in Egypt and for bees from the land of Assyria. They will all come and settle in the steep ravines and in the crevices in the rocks, on all the thorn bushes and at all the water holes. In that day, the Lord will use a razor hired from beyond the Euphrates River, the king of Assyria, to shave your head and private parts and to cut off your beard also. In that day, a person will keep alive a young cow and 2 goats, and because of the abundance of the milk they give, there will be curds to eat. All who remain in the land will eat curds and honey. In that day, in every place where there were 1,000 vines worth 1,000 silver shekels, there will be only briars and thorns. Hunters will go there with bow and arrow, for the land will be covered with briars and thorns. As for all the hills once cultivated by the hoe, you will no longer be there for fear of the briars and thorns. They will become places where cattle are turned loose and where sheep run.
Isaiah chapter 8. Sinabi ng Panginoon sa akin, Kumuha ka sang isang malapat na sulatan at isulat mo ang mga katagang ito. Maheres Shahal Hash Baz. Kumuha ko ako ng dalawang mapagkakataw this is hard. Kakitiwalaang saksi na magpapatunay na isinulat ko nga ito. Sila ay sina Uriah sa pari at Zacarias na anak ng Berekiah. Pagkatapos sumiping ako sa aking asawa, hindi nagtagal, naglihi siya ang nanganak ng lalaki. Sinabi ng Panginoon sa akin, pangalanan mo siyang Maher-shalal Hashbaz. Bago matutong tumawag ang bata ng tatay o nanay, ang kayamanan ng Damascus at ang mga sinamsam ng Samaria ay kukunin ng hari ng Assyria. Sinabi pa ng Panginoon sa akin, dahil sa tinanggihan ng mga taong ito at ang tubig ng Shiloah na umaagos ng banayad at natutuwa sila sa Haring Rezin at Haring Peka. Ipapasalakay ko sila sa hari ng Assyria at ang mga sundalo nito na parang ilog ng Euphrates na bumabaha at umaapaw sa kanyang mga pang. Dadagsa sila sa Juda gaya ng baha na ang tubig at tumataas hanggang leeg at umaapaw sa buong lupain. Pero kasama namin ang Diyos, kayo mga bansa kahit na magsama-sama kayo, magkakawatak-watak pa rin kayo. Makinig kayong mga nasa malayo kahit na maghanda pa kayo sa pakikipagdigma, matatalo pa rin kayo. Anuman ang binabalak ninyo laban sa amin ay hindi magtatagumpay dahil kasama namin ang Diyos. Mairin ako binalaan ng Panginoon na huwag kong gagayahin ang pamamaraan ng mga kababayan ko. Sinabi rin niya, huwag kayong makikipag-isa sa ibang mga bansa, katulad ng ginagawa ng iba. Huwag kayong magtatakot sa kinakatakutan nila, huwag kayong kabahan. Ako ang Panginoong makapangyarihan, ay dapat ninyong kilalaning banal. Ako ang dapat ninyong katakutan. Ako ang magiging kanlungan ninyo. Pero sa mga taga-Israel at taga-Juda, katulad ako ng isa batong naging katitisuran ng mga tao at nakakapagpada pa sa kanila. At para sa mga taga-Jerusalem, para akong isang bigtag. Marami sa kanila ay matitisod, madatapa at mapapahamak. Masisilo sila at mahuhuli. Kayong mga tagasunod ko, ingatan ninyo ang mga aral ko. Magtitiwala ako sa Panginoon kahit nang tinalikuran niya ang lahi ni Jacob, sa kanya ako aasa. Ako at ang mga anak kong ibinigay ng Panginoon ay mga palatandaan para Israel mula sa Panginoong makapangyarihan na nakatira sa bundok ng Zion. Kapag may mga nagsasabi sa inyong